great signing, great pickup off the scrap heap by the Tigers. He's turning into an actual stud. And, it's going to turn out, I think you're going to see that the two best signings this free agent season are going to be the Jordan Zimmerman contract at $5 and $110, because I think Zimmerman is probably the third best pitcher that was out there after Greinke and Price, and no one talks about Zimmerman, and I think that's perfect for him. I think it's going to be a great signing. I think Mike Leake is going to be a huge bargain for whomever ends up with him as well. But I think that the Tigers do need some bats. I think you'll see them go after somebody. Obviously, they still have Ian Kinsler playing second. They are paying a ton of money, obviously, to Miggy. They're going to need, I think they need a catcher desperately. And otherwise, I think they're going to be quite happy with hoping that some of their young kids, like their third baseman, are going to be able to come up and do what they're supposed to do. But Mike Ilitch has already come out and said, you know what? Money is no object right now. I want to win a championship. So we'll see. Maybe they do spend a boatload of money and they go after a Jason Hayward, or they try to get Cespedes back. Either one of those would not surprise me either.
Well, joining us right now, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, from Major League Baseball Network, MLB.com, he will be at the winter meetings in Nashville. He really doesn't need that much of an introduction because the guy is just that damn good when it comes to writing about his hometown Colorado Rockies, as well as anything and everything Major League Baseball. I give to you Tom Harding. Tom, how you doing tonight?
I'm outstanding. How are you tonight?
Doing good. So we basically have already covered David Price, Jordan Zimmerman, Zach Greinke, Jeff Samardzija. Out of those four contracts that have been signed already from the big four that are out there, which one do you disagree with the most?
I disagree with the David Price contract, especially because of the length, although I guess there is some, opt-out language in there that would make a huge difference. I mean, I disagree with the length of that one, but if he can go there and win a few playoff games, then that's going to look like a very good contract. I guess the second contract that could be disagreeable is Zach Greinke's, but I don't know. I mean, when I watched the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, I saw a very physical and athletic team, and if he can push them another step the way that some of the pitching acquisitions pushed the Royals a few years ago, then that could be a great signing.
Now, we spoke about Johnny Cueto. We also spoke about Johnny Cueto, and Fish believes he can, the target would be the St. Louis Cardinals because of the loss of Lackey to the Cubs, the loss of Lynn, the injury. Do you see him possibly trending towards the Cardinals, or is there another team out there that you feel that may have a shot at Cueto? And now with these mega contracts signed, what do you think it's going to take to sign him?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when he turned down, $120 million or something like that from the Diamondbacks, or at least that was the report, I'm thinking, what's going to happen with Johnny Cueto? I do think that the Cardinals have emerged as the favorites, although the Dodgers, they're reeling a bit. I mean, and the Dodgers, usually when there's an arms race, they're going to get involved in it. So if he were to go to someone else, I would say the Dodgers after that, but also could there be an American League team like the Yankees or someone that wants to make a splash and pick him up? I personally believe that Cardinals will be the best place for him. However, the Dodgers, that's intriguing to me. And I don't know exactly what the Dodgers want to do with their payroll, but if the Dodgers go out and pick him up and have him with Clayton Kershaw in that rotation, it kind of reforms the 1-2 that they had with Greinke.
Now, I'm going to go to your neck of the woods in Colorado.
Okay.
We know they made the deal last year with Tulowitzki. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. We know about, Cargo's name is going to be thrown out many times at the winter meetings. Is Cargo going to be gone, or do you think they're going to hold on to him and still try to build around him?
I think that deep in their hearts, they would love to hold on to Cargo. And it's funny, too, because when Tulowitzki was traded, we all sat around thinking, gee, Cargo's next. Where is he going to go? We're almost, ready to computer generate a different cap on him the way that we always do when someone signs or gets traded. But the way that he finished the season, whenever it comes up and you talk to the front office and the people who make decisions for the Rockies, there's a lot of pain whenever you bring up the idea of trading Carlos Gonzalez, but do they have to get the pitching that they need? Now, I do think that, and I wrote it on the Rockies.com website, that Corey Dickerson is very attractive to other teams because he has 4 years of club control. He's hit over 300 pretty much since the day he walked into the major leagues. He did have that plantar fasciitis last year, but he's recovered from that. And he may be the type who could bring in a talented pitcher. When I look at this thing, unless they go out and get Ian Kennedy, I don't know that they're going to go out and get a pitcher that's really proven. And Ian Kennedy, a lot of people see him as sort of a second-tier pitcher, not a front-tier pitcher, but that's all you need in Colorado. If they don't go out and get Ian Kennedy, I would think that they would be looking to trade for someone who maybe doesn't have the big name yet, but you look at all of the peripheral numbers, and he's very good. Somebody like a Carlos Carrasco from the Indians, just anybody like that type of pitcher. I know that they've had interest in Jose Quintana from the White Sox. Shelby Miller, I don't know that he's actually out there. That's the thing, is that a lot of people want to connect the Rockies with Shelby Miller and the Braves, and there seem to be some stories about the Braves dangling him, but when you start talking to people around the game, up to this point, they don't think that the Braves have actually put him out there. But that's the type of pitcher that I think the Rockies can get by trading a Corey Dickerson or maybe even a Carlos Gonzalez to a team that's in the race. Now, what intrigues me about Gonzalez is he's going to make, $17 million each of the next 2 seasons, I believe. I believe that's the figure, $17 million. So if you trade him, could you get one of those young pitchers that's emerging that really looks good? And could you also get back maybe a veteran type with a contract that the other team doesn't want, but also can pitch well? So there are some intriguing possibilities with the Rockies, but they've missed out on the big guys. I mean, I had some sentiment, and it's not my money, but I thought they should have gone after Samardzija, to be honest with you. I think that just his makeup, that I don't think he cares about the things that could happen to you at Coors Field. He actually has pitched there pretty well. It's only been like 13 and a third innings, but he's pitched pretty well at Coors Field. I would have liked to have seen them gone ahead and see if they couldn't get involved in that Samardzija bidding, but I don't think they did.
Well, I'm going to pass it off to my co-host, Andrew. I think he might have a couple of questions about his beloved Cleveland Indians.
Okay. Well, I look at the roster now. I don't even recognize half this roster anymore. With the Tribe, obviously you got Kluber long term. You had some young guys. Is this a team that they finished 81? They had 81 wins last year. They were essentially 500. There was a game canceled, obviously. Do you see this team going back into buy mode with this youth movement, or do you see this as a kind of playing once again the role of small market?
Well, I think that they could move up into the buying market with a trade because they're one of few teams that has pitching depth. You talked about Kluber there, and it just seems that they've put together a pretty good cadre of young pitchers. Now, what if you were to trade one of those guys and say get a Carlos Gonzalez if you wanted to go up on the payroll? Then suddenly that helps your lineup out a bit. I am really interested to see what they do in free agency or with trades. Do they give up some of the pitching, or do they say, hey, this is a pitching-dominated era, maybe we'll spend a little bit of money and see if we can't find the right bat to fit in there? Because pitching-wise, I love what they do from a starting rotation standpoint. I think that Terry Francona can do some magic with the bullpen. He just needs a few more horses offensively.
You know, speaking of which, the hot rumor now is that the two players the Indians are most interested in actually are two guys who were DFA'd or non-tendered, and that was Pedro Alvarez and Chris Carter, because those are going to be bats that are very cheap. The problem is that everyone who talks to the Indians wants either Danny Salazar or Carlos Carrasco, and the Indians, the one pitcher that they're looking to trade the most is Trevor Bauer, and he's the one guy that people do not have as much interest in, because although his stuff is absolutely electric, he can't really control it right now.
Yeah, and Trevor Bauer is a difficult situation there. I know he comes with his own ideas, but if you look, I like Trevor Bauer a lot, to be honest with you. I would rather have Carrasco, because you've just seen this at the major league level. You've seen some of the numbers that he's had. Is the one-loss record there? Not really. I don't think that's his fault. I think that hopefully we're beyond the point where we just look at a one-loss record and blame it on the pitcher. But Trevor Bauer, for me, I love the arm. You're right. He hasn't really controlled it. I believe that coming up with the Diamondbacks and through UCLA, he came with his own ideas. But, hey, Garrett Cole is that same pitcher. I've heard stories that basically some teams weren't sure to draft him because they didn't think that their coaches could work with him because he already came with his own ideas. However, guys like that are very smart, and guys like that at some point figure it out. When Trevor Bauer figures it out, he will be very good for somebody. So I do think that if you're the Rockies, you have to take a look at a Trevor Bauer, but probably Carlos Carrasco, because what you've seen at the major league level, that's pretty good. I understand why the Indians wouldn't want to deal him, but to get a bat, they may have to. Now, I'll go back and talk about a Chris Carter or Pedro Alvarez. Pedro Alvarez, to me, and not covering the American League, I'm not sure how right-handed hitters do in that progressive field, but did he make a difference in that team in the lineup with Terry Francona? Terry puts him in the right place. I would like to see that happen. Carter, not as much. I mean, he'll hit some home runs, but he'll strike out a lot and not get on base. And I guess they're both that same player, but I'm looking at the pedigree of having gone to the playoffs a few times. Maybe Pedro Alvarez would be a better play than Chris Carter, but that would be something I'd have to really sit down and look at. I mean, I'm looking at Chris Carter as a type of guy that could work even here in Colorado. Right-handed bat, can play some first base, even go out and play a little bit of outfield. Of course, in the American League, he could be a DH there, but that's a guy I like, but I like him a little bit more for the Rockies than for the Indians right now.
You look at some of the upper name bats, the Chris Davises, the Jason Haywards, the Justin Uptons. Who are the buyers right now? What's the buzz you're hearing on some of these big bats? Because obviously everyone loves offense. Defense is overrated apparently. So what are you hearing? Let's start with Fish.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. What's that? Start with whom?
Oh no, you can jump in. I just wanted to so you guys didn't talk over each other. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've paid so much attention to that pitching market. Guys, I just am really not sure where the hitters are going to fall because, frankly, my attention has been on the pitching market. And I thought that the hitters would go a little bit later. I think a lot of that is going to kind of fall into place this week. Jason Hayward, he intrigues me in the National or American League. I mean, this is a guy that is capable of so much, and it seems like he's the what is the old story? The little girl with the curls. That when he's good, he's great, and when he's bad, he's really awful. Or people see him that way. I mean, I think what it is people look at the tools there, and if he isn't just totally blowing up, then people are very disappointed in him. But he's a guy I'd want to have on my club. I mean, sometimes I think what has to happen is some of the big market teams like the Cubs and the Red Sox, but more the Cubs in his case, they're trying to keep an economical rest of the roster and go out and get what they need. When I see him, I think Cubs.
From what I'm hearing, it looks like Jason Hayward actually is a great fit for the Angels. They are desperate for a left fielder. They had 12 guys play left field last season, so what they would love to be able to do is move Cole Calhoun to left field, where he won a Gold Glove in right field last year, but they think he can play left, and have an outfield of Calhoun, Trout, and Jason Hayward, which would probably be the best defensive outfield in all of baseball. Jason Hayward is a statistical little darling. Everyone loves him. All the analysts think he's so great. He had such a great WAR, and that's why they think he's going to get the $200 million. I still have an issue paying a guy $200 million who's only going to hit 13 to 15 home runs and drive in 67 runs, no matter how great a defensive player he is. I see that people are in love with him because of that, and that the Angels are enamored with the way he plays. So I see Jason Hayward actually going there. I think Justin Upton may be the guy that goes to Chicago. They're also toying with the idea of putting Javier Baez in center field.